Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. John Kelly, profiler and addiction specialist. Welcome. Welcome to a very sad show, but I think it's going to be a pretty informative show. Okay, it's called The Making of the Monster. Was Bryan Kohberger a monster? If he was, what were the evil ingredients that went into making him? Let's deep dive this, take a look and see what we come up with. We always love your comments, love your subscriptions. Please continue to comment and subscribe. Again, I want to, send our condolences, our deepest condolences out to the victims of the brutal murder up in Idaho State College and their families and friends. This affected everybody at the college, certainly the families and friends of the victims. Which Bryan Kohberger is suspected of killing. He's innocent until proven guilty, though. That's the bottom line. And at this time, I'd also like to thank you for all your purchases of my book, Discovering Lazarus, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly of John Kelly. Thank you so much for all your purchases and kind comments. And how I kicked a horrible drug habit. I became a counselor, a drug counselor. Moved on to become a psychotherapist and eventually a profiler. Thank you so much. Can't thank you enough. So anyway, looking at Bryan's so-called odyssey through school, which I think is very important. We have to start with him in grade school. This is where a lot of times things begin, right? It seemed to be a lot of childhood abuse by guys and girls that he went to school with, okay? Classmates he went to school with seemed to ridicule and shame him over being fat, make fun of him. And which ultimately led to, I'm sure, a feeling of rejection. I'm sure he had a feeling of rejection, which is horrible when you're that young to feel rejected because of abuse from your classmates, verbal abuse. And I think there was physical abuse as well. I think he was physically abused, not only verbally, but physically abused as well by girls and boys alike. And we'll have to look more into that. So anyway, that's the beginning of Bryan Kohberger's odyssey through school systems. At that point in time, he finds heroin while he's in high school. Usually, just so you know, heroin addicts, and I'm sure any of them that are out there listening to me that are recovering, will be more than happy to talk about the anger they felt inside, because heroin is a very strong central nervous system depressant, and it really can hold down internalized anger. It can soothe it and keep it down at the same time. After a while, he becomes a bully, I mean, what do we always hear? Hurt kids, right? So kids that are being picked on early on become bullies themselves later on. And that's what seems to have happened with Bryan as well. But anyway, Bryan goes off to rehab. His parents did the right thing. They got him into a rehab, and off he went. And it seems that rehab did pretty well for him. He got straightened out. He came out. He was, more physically into himself, started eating better, taking care of himself, got into exercise, took up boxing. Pretty much, was a pretty decent boxer. Even in high school, he joined a class of some sort of Army Ranger class. I was in the Army. I understand the Rangers. To become a Ranger in the Army, you had to put the pedal to the metal. They were a rough, tough group. And it seems they had a class in high school, at this particular high school he went to, where he could participate in, similar slight Certainly not heavy duty ranger stuff, but a slighter ranger, maybe hand to hand in exercise and cadence and various runs if they did that as well. But anyway, I think he was even talking about becoming a ranger after he got out of high school, but instead he decided to go off to Northampton Community College. So he goes off to Northampton Community College to get a degree, a bachelor's degree in psychology. He did 2 years at the community college, and then he left the community college and went to DeSales University. I believe it's near Allentown. And he did his final 2 years there to get his bachelor's degree. Okay, so now he's graduated with a bachelor's degree at DeSales. Then he goes for a master's degree. But what's interesting kind of to me is he doesn't go for a master's degree in psychology. He goes for a master's degree in criminology. Okay. So during that whole master's degree work that he was involved in and all the various coursework, there seemed to have been, some different kind of work that was done with criminals. Okay. And I think he was doing various research on criminals, up close and live and personal with criminals, on how they had committed their crimes, why they committed their crimes, what they felt after they committed their crimes, and certainly what they did at various crime scenes where they were allowed to get away and didn't get caught, because not everybody gets caught for everything they do. I mean, many, many criminals get away with many, many things before they get caught, or get away with many criminal things after they get caught. So anyway, the bottom line is in his odyssey, going through DeSales University, he decides that after he gets his master's degree in criminology, he wants to go for a PhD. At that point, he gets accepted in a PhD program up in Washington State University, up in Washington. So off he goes as a doctoral candidate, and he even lands a job as a teaching assistant, which is pretty neat. Okay, so he's on his way there. So Bryan heads up to Washington State College in Pullman, and he starts his job up there as a teaching assistant. He's in a PhD program. And problem, I think this is where it starts to hit the fan, is he wasn't getting along well with his students. He came across as a really harsh grader and, really was rude, from what I understand, to a lot of the class, especially females. In fact, there's talk about him following females to their cars. I don't know if it was a spirited debate. I don't know if he was angry. I don't know if he was just being protective. But, there's talk of him even, being a little boisterous, following females to their cars after class. Finally, he's brought up in front of the class by his professor. And I really believe for Bryan, and I really believe he's pretty narcissistic, that this had to be a very humbling, shameful, degrading experience. I feel he really, had to stand there and listen to all these students tell him how much they didn't care for his professionalism, how he graded them, how he talked to them, and bottom line, how he taught them, okay? That they felt it was very unreasonable. And obviously, his professor felt that it wasn't very professional. And these kids were owed a professional teacher and a good education. So the professor jumped in and started to monitor Bryan and meet with him on various occasions to go over how he was progressing with teaching the class. And that didn't seem to go so well. And eventually, I think Bryan saw the writing on the wall. Where I see this being combustible and exploding is when he was brought up in front of the class. Okay, I really see his humiliation really coming out there, and I think he was really feeling less than. Those kids, those students, and certainly less than any of the professors. I think that was really the boiling point for Bryan. Later on, like I said, his professors stayed on him, continued to watch his progress. His progress didn't get any better. And then sometime after the murders had taken place, he got a letter in the mail that he was not needed as a teacher anymore. More or less, he was fired. Okay. He did not live up to standards. I mean, and he had to see this coming. He had to see this blow coming. So I think it was very, very hurtful and quite emotional for him after that being called out in front of the class, okay, and had to sit there and listen to them ridicule him. And remember, in the beginning, going back, we're talking about him being ridiculed as a child by his classmates and being rejected, and pretty much if he thinks he's losing his position up there and the class doesn't care for him, this is ridicule and rejection all over again. All right. Now, look, at everybody that gets ridiculed and rejected isn't going to become a mass murderer. There's no question about it. All right. But the bottom line here is this guy was, okay, genetically, how he's put together, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows out there. But if you take this genetical predisposition or genetic predisposition to becoming a mass murderer, whatever is involved in it, and then you add all this social and environmental negative stimuli to it, I mean, you're lighting the fuse and you're setting the stage for some of these guys. Because if you look at pretty much all these mass murderers, they have history. Okay, genetically, sure, something got to be going on, but maybe not. Maybe it is just the social environment that has set them up for this unbelievable volcanic rage that sets them off into this mass murderer, killing and taking it out on whoever. Now, obviously, this guy didn't have any female relationships that we're aware of from early on, and I don't see it at all, through his history. But maybe he did have some up close and personal relationships with some women. I just don't think that's brought out. I seem to see a lot of disdain and a lot of acting out, to female students in class. And we know, early on in his high school days, actually his grade school days, where he was kind of abused and humiliated and rejected by a certain amount of females. So I don't know. I'm going to leave it up to you guys to give me your feedback on that. But I have to tell you that you can start to see, this buildup of internalized rage at an early age. And that was kind of fed by a lot of abuse, a lot of humiliation, and a lot of ridicule, and eventually, rejection, which in another form is abandonment, um, by classmates. And now we take it all the way up, all these years later to the college, and where he was a teaching assistant at the college level. And they pretty much said, you don't have it, buddy, and we're letting you go as a teaching assistant. And maybe feeling abandoned by the college up there. These are all theories, but we're deep diving into his psyche and trying to see what made the monster, okay, if he is guilty of these murders. All right, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate you. Please continue to comment and subscribe. We love your comments. I'm sure you're going to have a lot to comment on this one. Most importantly, take care of yourself. Make it a great day. God bless until we meet again. Thank you.